Hi everyone. Hi Keith, Joe, Print Me Up, Titch. Hi Wayne. How is everybody on this day? On this day that Jeremy Corbyn has tabled a vote of no confidence in Theresa May. Although I can't quite see what happens if he wins it, which he won't. But that's not the point. I'll explain it in a second. Hi Jamie. Hi Karen. Hi Neil. Hi Good Dog. All the usual suspects are here. I just want to quickly go to this. Let's just set it up, because this happened earlier today.
She refuses to allow a vote to take place this week and is now, I assume, thinking the vote will be on the 14th of January, almost a month away. This is unacceptable in any way whatsoever. So, Mr. Speaker, as the only way I can think of ensuring a vote takes place this week, I am about to table a motion which says the following: that this House has no confidence in the Prime Minister due...
I think you mean country, JC.
Due to her failure to allow the House of Commons to have a meaningful vote straight away on the withdrawal agreement and framework for future relationships between the UK and the European Union. And that will be tabled immediately, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
So this is not the motion of no confidence in the government that I said he wouldn't table until after the vote was voted down, if it gets to that stage, which it didn't think it would. He's tabled a vote of no confidence in May. Now, people are trying to think of why has he done this, because it's largely symbolic. He won't win the vote because the DUP are still giving the Conservatives their support. However, it is symbolic because if you imagine if May wins a vote of confidence in the House, if May wins, not the Tories, if May wins a vote of confidence in the House, then essentially that means that the 117 Conservatives who voted to say that she wasn't fit to run the Conservative Party think that those 117 think it's okay that she's not fit to run the Conservative Party, but she's fit to run the country. So that makes it look terrible, even if they win the vote, which I think they will. He's trying to get this vote, he's trying to put as much pressure on her as possible to get this vote brought forward till next week before Christmas. I don't think it's going to happen. She's mentioned January the 14th. I can't see how that Brexit deal is going to be voted on in the House of Commons in its current form, because, as I've said before, as soon as she brings that to the House and it gets voted down, then Jeremy Corbyn tables his vote of no confidence, because he knows by that stage the DUP have withdrawn their support for the Tories, can't win a vote of no confidence in the government. Now the Tories are trying to say that because this is done under the Fixed Term Parliament Act, that it has to be a vote of no confidence in the government rather than in the Prime Minister. The Tories are saying that. The Tories want this vote in the Prime Minister now, because they know that it'll lose at the moment, because the DUP will give their support, and obviously the Tories aren't going to vote to bring down their own government, so it'll lose, and that means that Jeremy Corbyn will have to go to the default position, the secondary position of pushing for a referendum if he can't obviously get into government, or because obviously a vote of no confidence, what happens if a vote of no confidence happens in the government and that gets voted down, then first of all, can another government be formed? Well, the Conservatives won't be able to, not unless the SNP suddenly go with them, which some people have said never rule anything out with the SNP. Sort of agree with them on that. Then it goes over to Labour. Can Labour form a government? Well, technically they can. I've looked at it, and mathematically they can, but it would be the very definition of a coalition of chaos. So then it comes to the next thing that automatically will happen if neither side can form a government is general election. And I personally think that Jeremy Corbyn will win that in the current state of affairs. I don't think the polls are reflecting just how much the country are pissed off with the Tories, because this has just been embarrassing. It really has. So he's tabled a vote of no confidence. It's a vote of no confidence in Theresa May, not the government. So if he loses this, it's not the end of the world, unless the Tories do get them to change the wording in that it's a vote of no confidence in the government. But I can't see that happening. I think if they get them to change the wording, he'll withdraw it. We shall see, but we're no really further along down the road than we were last week on Friday. I said that she'd come back from the EU with nothing, which is precisely what she's come back from the EU with. I've said that nothing they say and no assurances they say mean it. Well, somebody put it beautifully the other day: verbal assurances are worth the paper that they're written on. So that'll give you some idea as to what sort of state the government are in at the moment. It's chaos, is what it is. I've said all along I think there'll be another referendum. I said it even before the result of the last referendum. I said if we leave, I think there'll be another referendum, and I see no reason to change that premonition, if you like. That's the state of play anyway. At least it was about an hour ago. Whether anything's changed since then, I don't know. She's a very beaten person. You know, Thomas Clare, I don't think she is. I don't think she knows when she's beat. She's got alligator blood. She's hanging around. Can't get rid of her. I've got a newfound respect for her. And that's only the respect that she hasn't gone yet. And I think I said she wouldn't get past October. I said all along she wouldn't get past October because that was the crunch time with the EU, and here we are halfway through December and she's still there. So, you know, you can't write her off. But it's not the sort of respect in a person that you would want, to be honest. Oz Whistle says Corbyn needs a landslide so that he has a margin to purge the Blairites, so it's a long game. When does this mandatory re-election start? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. Because surely Margaret Hodge and Kate Hoey and Chuka Umunna should be should be targeted. That's just 3 of them. There's probably 100 of them. Print Me Up says the Speaker could throw a spanner in the works, Gordon. He could overpower her and her government in this thinking, and that she's playing for time. Don't forget that Bercow is a Tory. Don't forget that. Although he's pretty fair, to be honest, in the House of Commons, I think. Karen Campbell, she laughs at the poor. She won't laugh when we put our yellow vests on. Perfect Christmas present, by the way, for people. Yellow vests. If there's any capitalists out there, that's where you want to invest your money at the moment, no matter what country you're in. Is the Speaker of the Commons a Brexiteer or just a stickler for the rules and holding up Parliament's rights, says Jekamasha. I don't know with John Bercow, actually. His positions on things are very difficult to figure out, which does hold up your second point. He's a stickler for the rules. I know there's been some allegations against him, which have been allegations of bullying against him, but with regards to his actions inside the House of Commons, when it comes to Prime Minister's questions, etc., I think he's great. I really do. I haven't got anything negative to say about him, to be honest, with regards to his job. Oh, right. Bercow had a bollocks to Brexit sticker on his car, says Neil Gardner. He's a Blairite, a neoliberal. No, Jamie. Jamie Rose says Corbyn's going to lose this and will be forced out by Blairite scum. That's my dire prediction now. If he loses this, Jamie, it's a win. If the vote is in, if the vote of no confidence is in the Prime Minister and he loses it, it's still a win because, as he explained, those 117 Conservatives who voted against her last week have essentially, by supporting her in tomorrow's vote, I think it'll be tomorrow night that it's staged. They're essentially saying she's good enough to run the country, but not good enough to run the party. That's going to look pretty bad, you know. People like me are going to have a long. I mean, it's the first thing I thought of. I thought, oh, people will spin that to use it as something to bash them over the head with. I've already got mine, Gordon says. Titch Homer. I gather that's a yellow vest you've already got. I lose it every time George Galloway has got to go to a break, and he goes, "Here's some capitalist messages," says Jack Masher. He's great, that guy is. Corbyn needs to get Abbott out the cabinet. She doesn't inspire confidence, says Ryuko Chan. Abbott isn't in the cabinet, mate. She's in the shadow cabinet. I know that's me picking stuff. I don't like this picking on Diane Abbott. She's not good at maths. Name me a politician who is. She's not good at maths. Not off the top of her head. Give her a calculator, she'll probably work it out. I don't like the bullying of Diane Abbott. I really do think a lot of it is because she's black and she's a woman. And I hate to say that, but I do see a lot of it, and it's not nice. That said, don't get me wrong, I don't think Diane Abbott is the best politician in the world, don't get me wrong, but she's certainly better than most of them on the other side. At least she cares. I don't get that impression from the other side of the house. Alright. Let's get into this, because this story needs a lot of exposure and it's not getting it. Let me just set it up actually while I'm here. That'd be a good idea, wouldn't it? Hi everyone. So a couple of days ago I reported on the Integrity Initiative. This is a something that's been set up to look like a charity that's been getting money from the Foreign and Commonwealth Office in the UK to the tune of £2.2 million, and then using that money to go on social media and to get their reporters to smear people who are activists and who are talking out against the rubbish that we are being fed 24/7 at the moment from the media. It all started, I'll just take you back a couple of days, a couple of days ago. The day after I did the live stream and reported on this, Chris Williamson, Labour MP for Derby, actually went to Oxfordmuckty to see this mill in Fife where this Integrity Initiative were meant to be registered. And he said, I visited the registered premises of the dubious Institute for Statecraft, sort of the parent, the umbrella company, sort of. It works a lot like these other NGOs in that you've got the Atlantic Council, which is the umbrella organisation, and then underneath them you've got DFR Labs and all other subsidiaries. It does look like the Integrity Initiative is a subsidiary. Well, it doesn't look like it is. The Integrity Initiative is sort of like an offshoot of the Institute for Statecraft, which has its fingers in many pies. He said just outside Octomukti this morning. It's a largely unoccupied mill, but I spoke to some people running small businesses there, and they'd never heard of it. So basically, it's just a premises, and it's there's nobody there. And he said the government has serious questions to answer about why it's funding dubious groups that interfere in the affairs of European democracies and contribute misinformation about the Labour Party and Jeremy Corbyn. Here. And then, as you can see at the bottom, after visiting the registered premises of the shady state-funded Institute for Statecraft near Octomukti yesterday, I was told that they've moved. Already they've moved. As I was still in Dundee this morning, I went to investigate and discovered the new address is a private house in Strathmiglo. So I've no doubt that will move very quickly as well, as these things do. Now, The Guardian, who, as I said the other day, it's just an offshoot of GCHQ at this point. The Guardian is. It doesn't operate as a newspaper at all. Newspapers are there to hold power accountable and to sniff out these devious, underhanded ways in which governments try and manipulate us, not actually participate in it. And as WikiLeaks tweeted out here the other day, Guardian's Carol Cadwalladr and James Ball, I didn't even realise, appear together with numerous others as speakers in a closed Foreign Wealth and Common Office funded intelligence-linked Integrity Institute skill sharing and networking event. So they're speaking at functions funded by the Institute for Statecraft. That's James Ball, who you might remember was part of the BBC mini documentary they did for Newsnight that I highlighted, and got on there and was talking all sorts of bullshit about Julian Assange and WikiLeaks, along with the other guy on that documentary I highlighted. I've forgotten his name now. So you can see there, Carol Cadwalladr and James Ball. Now I asked James Ball about this on Twitter, and he had a really condescending attitude. I've answered this. Why do you keep bothering me? And I responded, you James Ball, bothering you should be an Olympic sport, you lying liar. He says he hasn't been paid by them at all. Carol Cadwalladr, I can never say her name. I don't actually know how to pronounce her name, actually. She will not answer a question. WikiLeaks and Tim, I've forgotten his name now, Tim Hayward, kept asking her, have you been paid by the Institute for Statecraft at any time? She will not answer it. I'll let you decide as to whether you need to read something into that. You can see here this is all her responses, and Piers Robinson was another one who kept asking her, have you been paid? Are you in any way involved with the Integrity Initiative or its parent institute for Statecraft? She will not answer it at all. She just keeps deflecting. So that should give you some idea. I mean, if she isn't involved with them or paid by them, surely no is an easy answer. Let you read into that. Now, I want to come back to this, as I highlighted the other day, because I want to read this out. This is part of the document dump that Anonymous dumped. I think it was Anonymous at Scandinavia who released these documents. You can see here this is going through some of the procedures at the Integrity Initiative. And it says we work with retainers on per language and or per campaign basis. We imagine that such a vast and ambitious InfoWar campaign will be long-term and built in a project-by-project, step-by-step approach. This is a massive disinformation campaign. This is massive. It's huge. We can only give you a budget estimation for the first few steps that we could quickly start with our existing capacities in English, French and Spanish. So it's not just the UK, as I'll get to in a bit. You can see there, defensive and offensive online influence campaigns. So this is not just defending against so-called Russian propaganda. This is actually offensively spreading their own propaganda themselves. So, influencing their own people, lying to their own people, spreading misinformation and mistruths to their own people. This is not Russia lying to us. This is our own government lying to us. And then, I'll get to it in a bit. Monitoring of online media, and I want you to remember this, because this is the first stage. Monitoring of online media, first level investigatory services. Remember that, first level investigatory services on open public data, so Twitter, Facebook, etc. Publication of content on existing media sites, so publishing their own propaganda. Editing of one online news media site if necessary, and Wikipedia editing. And I already made a connection. Thought immediately, is Philip Cross part of that endeavour by any chance? Is he being paid by the Institute of Statecraft and the Foreign Office? Of that, we'll probably get to the bottom of at some stage. It's got the monthly budget, and then it says the difference of intensity depends on the volume content being monitored and published any month. And then it's got counter activism. Now remember, so counter activism, so this is how they counter activists. This is their procedures for countering activists, i.e. people who just care and want an end to the wars. This is how they're going to counter them. In-depth technical investigations, response to incidents, special operations, negative PR, legal actions, ethical hack, etc. That's what they're doing to activists. That's not what they're doing to Russians. That's what they're doing to people at home like me who are trying to give you the truth. Negative PR, so smearing and slandering. This is a tactic. This is something that the government pay the Integrity Initiative to do for them. Ethical hacks. Is that by any chance, trying to hack the phone messages, a la bloody News of the World style, to be determined depending on the number of hours worked, knowing our average budgets, blah, 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 blah. So I wanted to read that, just give you an outline of this is generally what they do. And as I said in my live stream the other day, this is Deborah Haynes, defence editor of The Times. Please excuse the message. A researcher who contacted me has identified you as a pro-Kremlin troll account. Is that correct? Is this, by any chance, first level investigatory services? Do you think? Because what she did, Deborah Haynes, back then, this was earlier on in the year, the turn of the year, before the shit hit the fan, this was. Oh. You can see there's a list of a load of people that she's asking. Anybody who's an activist online, talking about Russia as if it's nonsense, which it is. And you can see there, she's listed as one of the UK journalists for the Integrity Initiative. I've got a little screenshot of this. I'm going to make this linked in the description when I drop this video. You can see here. Let's try that again. There we go. So you can see here. These are the clusters: Spain, France. Look at all the people they've got there spreading their disinformation for them in these clusters. Spain, France, Germany, Italy, Greece, USA, Canada. And the David Ziegler, there's a name that immediately jumps out to me. I know who he is. Central Eastern, Slovakia, the Baltics, the Balkans, Scandinavia, Netherlands. This is massive. These are all what they call cluster cells. So there's one of these in all of these countries. Now, so the Spain one, you may remember, I reported, other people reported as well, that the Spanish cluster stopped a socialist actually becoming a minister in Spain, who they smeared him as being a Russian apologist and soft on Russia, and he ended up not getting the job. But it wasn't just that. As Sputnik have reported here, this was just 2 or 3 days ago. Integrity Initiative Spanish cluster misled UK Parliament over Assange and Russia. This really pisses me off, and I want to just read the top bit of this. I'll explain. I mean, you've probably assumed why it's pissed me off already, but research into members of the Integrity Initiative Spanish cluster has led to some extremely troubling conclusions. On December the 19th, 2017, the House of Commons Digital, Culture and Media and Sport Committee convened its fake news inquiry's first oral evidence session, hearing testimony from a large number of witnesses. Among them was David Alandetti, editor of El Pas, Francisco de Borja Lecheras, director of the European Council of Foreign Relations Madrid office, and Mira Milosevic Juaristi, senior fellow for Russia and Eurasia at Elcano Institute. They'd been invited to discuss an alleged Kremlin effort to interfere on the October 2017 Catalan independence referendum via a dastardly nexus of social media bots, trolls, Sputnik News and RT, and WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. What the trio failed to disclose, and yet are to acknowledge publicly for almost a year later, is that they are both directly and indirectly connected to the Integrity Initiative, an information war effort based in London that has received millions in UK government funds and is subject to more than one official investigation into its activities. What even more troubling, however, their testimony, which may have contributed significantly to Ecuador's March 2018 decision to cut off Assange's internet and bar him from receiving any visitors other than his legal team, had been condemned as exceptionally misleading. An independent data analyst who also submitted expert testimony to the committee. So that's what they said. Now you can see here what they've done is, the Foreign and Commonwealth Office have said to this cluster in Spain, okay, this is the bullshit. This cluster have then gone back to advise the UK government, fed them the bullshit that the Foreign and Commonwealth Office have given them. So the Foreign and Commonwealth Office are indirectly feeding disinformation to their own government. Now, if that isn't manufacturing consent for what they want, I don't know what is. That's not even manufacturing consent. That's manufacturing it full stop. So this is the list here. As you can see, there's a load of names, and you don't actually come to the UK until it goes all the way back down the bottom. And as soon as I got to the UK list and started looking at these names, look at that, at the very top, Bill Browder. At the very top, Bill Browder. I've got to speak to Lee Stranahan, because no doubt, mind you, knowing Lee's probably already figured that out already, and he's on top of it, but I'll send him an email later. But yeah, he's on the list of Integrity Initiative operatives, so to speak. And if you, it actually tells you over on the right hand side here. I can't fit it all on one screen. Again, I'll leave a link. Let's just quickly put it in the chat, actually. There you go. That's a link to the PDF with all the names. As you can see down the bottom there, they've got the general cluster members, but then you've got the Inner Core Russia. This is the UK Inner Core Defence, and you can see all of those names, all of them. So all the way from there, it starts with Bill Browder. You can see there two from the top, Ben Nimmo, obviously, DFR Labs. I'll get to that in a bit. But if you scroll down to the bottom, you actually get a list of the journalists. You can see there, the bottom 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people are journalists. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. As you can see, the very first name that comes out is Deborah Haynes. This is not good. This is not good at all. So Deborah Haynes, there she is. David Arnautovic, Dominic Kennedy, There's Natalie Nugay Reader, Bruce Jones, Neil Buckley, Jonathan Markler. So that's the Times, that's the Financial Times, that's the BBC, and that's the Guardian. Those four outlets, news outlets. And like I say, she's obviously on the payroll of the Integrity Initiative. And it does make me wonder, is that first level investigatory services? Because this is what she did with the information that she got from these people. I spoke to Citizen Halo and Ian56 yesterday on Twitter and Partisan Girl and asked them, because remember the Guardian outed them as Russia as bots. Now they got that information from the government, who got it from DFR Labs, who got it, obviously that's Ben Nimmo, who the Integrity Initiative are funding. And this is what she said. She said to Citizen Halo, "Thank you for the follow. A researcher has identified your account to me as a pro-Russia troll account. Is that correct? Yours sincerely, Deborah." And I remember saying at the time when I heard about this, what was her end game here? You know, what does she think trolls are going to do? Say yes, I'm a troll? Of course they're not. But that wasn't the point. As Citizen Halo went on to explain, she said, I'm not. I'm a Finnish citizen and I express my own opinions. Researcher must have his own agenda. The researcher was Ben Nimmo. And we know that for a fact because Deborah Haynes wrote an article about this and named Ben Nimmo as the researcher in her article. Troll, I am definitely not, because I have been in Twitter nearly 10 years and never broken terms of service. Neither do I engage with people having different opinions or argue to prove that my opinion is more right than theirs. So, you have got the wrong info. I'm not a troll of any kind. I have strong opinions about Palestine issue and what I consider myself is a peace activist, and that's what I consider her to be as well, a peace activist. That's essentially what she is. Didn't stop Deborah Haynes going on to write the article and slander her there. Yes, you can see, wow, so she invited you and numerous others to follow, then set you up to be a Russian bot for her hit piece. I'm not across this, but it does sound like exceptionally deceitful. Citizen Halo says, yes, she did. Then when we answered, she lied and wrote what she had intended to do and lied some more. Her source was NATO's propaganda arm, Atlantic Council stooge Nimmo, now exposed as Integrity Initiative PSYOP cluster boss, paid by the UK Foreign Office. It was a disinfo operation. She's not the only one. This is Ian 56's response. He actually went on about 4 or 5 chapters in his response. It was quite funny. The researcher is 100% wrong and telling total lies about me, he said. I have been anti-neocon since January 2002 when I first realised Dick Cheney, Paul Wolfowitz and Peanut Gang were going to use 9/11 as a pretext to launch a completely disastrous invasion of Iraq based on nothing but lies and completely against American British interests. Ian 56, wow. You just said in one paragraph what the entire establishment media have avoided saying for 17 years. Take a bow, son. Take a bow. So this is how much they paid him December 2015, Ben Nimmo. 2015, this is going back 3 years this has been happening, and it's only just being unearthed now. This is going back to before the 2016 election. Integrity Initiative, for anybody who wants to know the names of the people in the UK involved, obviously people have got the screenshots now of all the people in the UK, and this is making its rounds around Twitter, and no doubt the people on that list are getting several. Well, no doubt their mentions are lighting up on Twitter with people saying some nasty stuff about them. And here's a list of all the outer core and military and defence and UK journalists. Just quickly, there on the left-hand side, you can see UK General. Halfway down, Ben Bradshaw, Labour MP. There's a Labour MP on the list working on the UK General outer core, so spreading Russian disinformation. Ben Bradshaw, I did a quick check. He's the person, Ben Bradshaw, who was making a big song and dance saying that the Russians hacked Brexit. And that was the reason we voted to leave, was because of Russians. That was what Ben Bradshaw did, and as you can see, he's being paid by the people to say that, to have that stance. This is why I don't support Labour. And as you can see here, people are asking this all the time, asking questions on it all the time, and the narrative keeps changing, as is the case when things are bullshit. You saw it with The Guardian the other week, and this is the BBC that Media Lens have caught onto, because as you can see, you probably can't see that. Let's see if I can. There you go. You can see there it started off by saying the article did the Foreign Office is investigating claims a government-funded campaign group countering Russian disinformation retweeted articles critical of Labour. That changed to the Foreign Office has accused Russian state media of trying to discredit a government. So you can see there they've obviously had a complaint and they've totally changed the article to be in lockstep with the government. Totally in lockstep with them. It gets worse. This is all the deposits that they've sent. You can see there. So there's we'll start there. There's December 2017 at the bottom, 94 grand, 95 grand, 60 grand, 46 grand, 210, 215,000, 215,000. This is a monthly basis. This is an ongoing operation. It's still ongoing right now. You can bet your ass it is. And if they shut this down, you can bet your ass it's going to be open up again under another name. That's what these black ops do, isn't it? And as you can see there, that's the sort of money that they're paying to the Atlantic Council. That was back in October. £450,000 worth of public money going to the Atlantic Council so they can tell Facebook that your meme is Russian and is fomenting discord. And that's as far as I've got at the moment to to digging into it and finding out exactly what has gone on here, but it's pretty obvious what has gone on here. This is another NGO, non-governmental organisation that they say is operating, without bias and fair, but it's not. It's a government-funded operation. It's just government. It's just funded indirectly, and they are propagandising their own people. Now, this is Ministry for Truth level bullshit, and it's got to stop. And I want answers with regards to this, and so do a lot of Labour MPs, because Alan Duncan is the man, Sir Alan Duncan. Yes, that arsehole. He's the man who's sort of the spokesperson for the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, and they were asked a question just the other day that they were caught lying about. So this is going to go on and on and on, but I'm not going to let this go, and neither is any independent journalist in the country. And if you notice, if you go on Twitter and just type in hashtag Integrity Initiative, the people talking about Integrity Initiative, they're the likes of Tim Howard, Jonathan Price, they're the likes of Patrick Henningsen, they're the likes of me, they're the likes of Vanessa Beeley. They're all the independent journalists. It's all independent journalists, George Galloway. It's all the people who are on the outside that they sling mud at that are asking these important questions. And the mainstream media, like Carol Cadwalader, as you could see in that clip I showed you earlier, they're defending them. What does that tell you as to what the intentions are of this shady organisation? Because this looks like it's the deep state of the UK trying desperately to cover up for their own cock-ups and trying desperately not to allow a Jeremy Corbyn government actually take over this country. It's bad. It really is. And it's huge. And it's going to get bigger the more excellent journalists like the people I've just mentioned start digging. Hi everyone. Yes, British bots, James Lindsay. It's not Russian bots after all. It's British bots. Scroll up and see what. Patricia Brannigan says, but your government is cool with all the yelling and questioning back and forth, much more interesting than C-SPAN. Best congressional hearing about tech where the old farts sound like idiots. I think our way of government is better than America's. I think parliamentary government is better than what is it, constitutional republic or whatever it is that you call it over there. I think it's more flexible. Whereas you're essentially in America, you're tied into just an ever going circle of campaigning. It never stops. I don't know how they get anything done, to be quite honest. They always seem to be in a campaign cycle. Aranovich on Nutovich is a neocon, doesn't take a brain surgeon to see what his policies are, says Jekamasha. Yes, he is a neocon. I don't know him that well, but from what I have seen, I've thought, yeah, he's an establishment warmonger. I need Galloway's book, says Jamie Rowe. I tell you what I need to watch Killing Kenny. There's some good news the other day. That Killing Kenny documentary is going to get made. George Galloway hits his 40 grand on Kickstarter, or 50 grand or whatever it is. So that's going to get made. It's interesting because I don't know all the ins and outs of the Kelly story. I've forgotten his name now. Is it David Kelly? No. Oh, I can't remember it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Maria Cecilia Carreño Cañas. Is it possible that May triggered all this pseudo-Brexit vote crisis only to hide Thism 2 scandal? She hasn't triggered all this crisis, but she certainly extended it. Just kicking the can down the road. I mean, this is why I say this vote is never going to go ahead in January. It can't. Because, like I say, Peter Hitchens says, the Conservatives would rather behead the Queen in Trafalgar Square if it meant hanging on to power or clinging to power. So they're not going to allow this deal to go because that risks a Corbyn government. That risks it brings down the government. And the worst case scenario, the best case scenario for the Tories in that situation is that there's a general election. They're behind in the polls at the moment, and I can't see them gaining anytime soon after the way they've handled this fiasco. And Jeremy Corbyn's a really good campaigner, so I can't see how they would win that vote. And obviously, if it gets voted down, then the DUP have withdrawn their support. Then he tables his vote of no confidence in the government. Like I say, that's if they keep it. Oh, by the way, there's something else I wanted to mention on that Integrity Initiative thing. I noticed this from Moon of Alabama. So something else on that Integrity Initiative I just wanted to add on to the end. It says here, Moon of Alabama, one of the newly released documents headlined CND General List 2. This was from the dump from Anonymous, includes the names and email addresses of a number of military, government and think tank people. The anonymous releaser of the documents claims that the list is, quote, of employees who attended a closed-door meeting with the white helmets. Okay, here's the list. Can you see a name that pops out on that list by any chance? It's right at the very bottom. Pablo Miller. Pablo Miller, the same man who had a D notice put on him put on the media for mentioning his name when the Skripals were poisoned. Pablo Miller was Sergei Skripal's recruiter in MI6. This is all very big And we've already now found connections to the Skripal case and connections to DFI Labs and the Atlantic Council. How long before we find connections to things in America that are going on and other activity that's going on in Spain and France and Germany and Holland? They're saying that this is a Russian disinformation campaign. It's not. What is it Sun Tzu says? Accuse the other side of that which you are guilty. It certainly seems that that's the case here. Don't you think? Dr. David Kelly. What did I say his name was? Did I say David? I think I did, didn't I? I think that Pablo Miller thing at the bottom, that's damning. That's damning, that is. Miller worked for Steele. No, I think Steele worked for Miller, if I remember right. No, yeah, I think Steele worked for Miller, because Pablo Miller was the recruiter and Steele was the handler. So, yeah, it's one of the two. It's one of the two, Keith. But, I mean, it's... the very person that the government stopped the newspapers from identifying when the Skripals were poisoned, the very person is linked to the Integrity Initiative and linked to payments made for a course on visiting the White Helmets. You know, there were times when I stopped myself over the last couple of days, especially over the weekend. I've stopped myself and gone, hold on a minute, what do we know? Don't get ahead of yourself, because obviously this looks like it's huge with groups all over the bloody world and these clusters. Because this looks massive and it looks like it could be the thing that pins everything together and brings down this whole fucking stupid nonsense. And then I thought, hold on a minute, stop. Is it really? Just check everything. Check. And there were times I have to keep stopping myself, keep thinking, come on, this can't be right. This is a global conspiracy if this is right. Even I keep double checking myself, and even because I'm dumbfounded as to how big this story is. It's massive. You only need to look at the responses from The Guardian. You got one person saying nothing to see here, Governor, I didn't even know, and the other one refusing to say whether she was paid or done any work for them at all. And these are the same people that have been smearing Assange and telling the lies about this Russia. 2 + 2 is 4. If it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's a duck. Hoodie Woman Louisiana says, I think we must all be prepared to know that it is too late to save any semblance of democratic rule in our countries. We must have a backup plan, a backup idea. They have been at this for too long. I think our backup plan is everybody go out and buy a yellow vest, Hoodie Woman. Could we replace defending with deploying in your title size 2 time? 2's time, have you not noticed that I've actually changed that? The Integrity Initiative slogan is defending democracy against disinformation. I just switched the words around because I thought, you know what, that makes more sense as to what they actually do. I can't believe nobody noticed it. I thought that was excellent. Defending disinformation against democracy. Gordon studied climate. Yes, I did. Course S10, was it S102? Course S102, physics. Physics in astronomy. Keith Durant, remember, irregular warfare will not be won by the US alone. They will need assistance from their allies. US Army Manual on Unconventional Warfare, yeah. They will. They'll need assistance from their allies, that's for sure. Right. That's all I've got for you tonight, everyone. I've got a couple of videos and I'll release this one tomorrow as a standalone video. And I will be live tomorrow at 9 as well for my regular Tuesday night stream. But there won't be one next week because obviously it's Christmas Day. So yeah, I'll go away now and read some more bullshit that's been going on in the news today because I pretty much haven't seen anything else apart from that integrity initiative. All right, guys. I shall see you, guys and girls rather, ladies and gents. I'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks very much for your support, everyone. If you don't support me on Patreon and you like the videos, please consider it, even if it's only $1 a month. You know, I've got 10,000 subscribers. If just 1 in 5 people donated $1 a month, I wouldn't have to worry about money. I could do this, you know, full time without any worries of money. If 1 in 20 people donated $4, the cost of a cup of coffee a month from Starbucks, again, that works out to be the same amount. So just bear that in mind. I know times are hard, but yeah, things are bad, and I would really like to continue doing this with your support. Hopefully, I can. Thanks very much for your support, guys and ladies. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace. Take care.